Gnocchi. Small, delicate pillows of dough, crispy on the outside and fluffy on the inside. Made with both potato and flour, this delicious pasta dish is cheap, easy to make, and incredibly satisfying to eat. Two typical sauces used to cover gnocchi are pesto and chunky tomato sauce, both of which are quick and easy as well. I'm Aaron Walker, and this is Beyond the Burner. First, we'll start out by making our pesto. You'll need a whole bunch of fresh basil, some olive oil, garlic, Parmesan, and pine nuts. Start out by washing your basil and picking it off of the stems. Then, weigh out your pine nuts. You only need a couple ounces. Then, shred up your cheese. I like using something that can shred it nice and fine. You'll need a few ounces of the Parmesan. Then, measure out your oil, 1 1/4 cup of olive oil, and chop up some garlic, about 4 or 5 cloves. Then begin mincing up your basil in the food processor. You might have to do a couple of batches to fit it all in. Adding your garlic, and adding your pine nuts, and then blitz it again. After it's all mixed up, scrape down the sides to make sure it's evenly incorporated, and adding your Parmesan cheese. Continue mixing and adding in the Parmesan cheese until everything is evenly distributed. Next, drizzle in the olive oil as you mix until it becomes smooth and creamy. Scrape down the sides and mix again until everything is completely incorporated. Then transfer it to a container for later. Now that the pesto's done, it's time to make a quick, easy red sauce. Just some tomatoes, garlic, onion, parsley, rosemary, thyme, and some bay leaves. Give them all a nice rough chop before adding them to your spice pile with your bay leaves. Then start cutting up your garlic. You want to cut it up extremely thin or mince it, but you want it to be able to dissolve. Next, toss your onion into a pot heated with oil. Cook it long enough to get a nice browning going, and then adding your garlic. Stir frequently so the garlic doesn't burn. Once browned, deglaze your pan with red wine, scraping up any fond that might have stuck to the bottom. Now adding your tomatoes. It's best to buy the whole San Marzano tomatoes like this, but any brand will do. If you go with fresh Romas from the store, you may need a little extra for the flavor and moisture. Then adding your herbs and bay leaves. Stir them thoroughly so the largest amount of surface area is covered and to extract as much flavor as possible while it cooks. You can use a spatula or spoon to break up the tomatoes a bit before they cook, depending on how you like your texture. Then simmer it for about 45 minutes. Be sure to stir occasionally so no sticking or burning occurs. Once it's done simmering, taste it and give it a little salt and some pepper for seasoning if you like. Then either hold it warm on the stove or keep it in a container for later. Now let's start on the gnocchi. You'll need about 3 russet potatoes, a ricer, 2 whole eggs, 2 egg yolks, Parmesan cheese, 4 ounces of melted butter, nutmeg for seasoning, and 2 types of flour. You need 00 and regular all-purpose flour. Scrub your potatoes until clean. Then dry them off thoroughly and pierce them all over with a fork. This will allow gas to escape evenly and will prevent them from opening in the oven while they cook. Next, coat them in oil and place them on a baking tray lined with foil. The oil ensures even cooking. Bake the potatoes in an oven for 1 hour and 15 minutes until they become tender. As your potatoes cook, combine the 00 flour, AP flour, and nutmeg. Then mix them together thoroughly and set it aside. A great hack for if you don't have a large, flat, clean surface is to use what I call the Dexter method for creating your own. Start by sprinkling drops of water over the area you want to use, then lay strips of plastic wrap down over the area. The plastic will stick to the water, then you can flatten out the plastic wrap to escape any air underneath, and now you have a large, flat, clean work area. Next, prep your eggs and yolks by whisking them together. Make sure it's smooth. Then generously dust the work area with flour. It's also useful to have a bench scraper, but it's not 100% necessary for the recipe. Then cut your potatoes in half and peel them. Begin processing the cooked potatoes through the ricer until you have an even pillow of fluffy, hot potatoes. A ricer is also not 100% necessary, but it comes out so much better and it saves you a lot of time if you can use it to process the potato instead of mashing it up by hand. Don't worry about the potato melting the plastic either. It's stronger than you may think. Just make sure it's a large, even layer of potato, otherwise it could be difficult to mix initially. Also make sure that you do not include any of the skin or any hard bits of potato that may have been overcooked. The ricer should take care of this for the most part if you're peeling them before pressing them out onto the counter, but just be careful. Next, distribute your Parmesan cheese evenly across all of the hot potato. Then, evenly add your seasoned flours to the potatoes, the same exact way as the cheese. There will be a lot of flour, but it'll come together, don't worry. Just keep sprinkling it on. Then drizzle the egg mixture across the top of the other ingredients. Now begin to incorporate the ingredients together as evenly as possible. This is where a bench scraper comes in handy, as you can easily pick up and mix the ingredients together in even motions, but again, you don't need one. Once it's mixed, add in your melted butter and mix it again. Then, using your hands, begin pushing and kneading the dough together. You want to knead it just long enough for it to come together and be pliable, but not long enough for it to become stiff and result in chewy gnocchi. Just try not to overmix it. Once it's come together and has a bit of shininess on the outside, get ready to start rolling the gnocchi out. Cut off a portion of the dough and roll it out until it's about a 1-inch thick cylinder. Then cut 1-inch pieces from that, resulting in 1-inch square pillows. I like to cut off the ends of the cylinders so that you get a nice, clean, squared off edge on all the gnocchi. After they're cut, you can either immediately cook them or go for some style points by rolling them across a gnocchi board. If you're like me and you don't own a gnocchi board, a fork will also work just as good. To use a fork, simply press one side of the gnocchi down onto the fork, then roll the gnocchi off to create the desired pattern. It can be a little tricky at first, but you'll get it after just a couple of gnocchi. Also, this step is completely optional, so if you don't want to spend the time on it, the dish will still come out tasting exactly the same if you skip this decorative step. I just went ahead and finished off a bunch of the rolled gnocchi so I could show you the difference once they're cooked. Now it's time to cook the gnocchi. You want to cook them in heavily salted simmering water. Add the gnocchi to the simmering water and stir so they don't stick to the pot or each other. Once they float, cook for just 1 minute more and then transfer to an ice bath. Once they've cooled, dry them off, cover in oil, and hold them until you're ready to crisp them up in a pan later. Repeat the process until all the gnocchi are cooked, cooled, and oiled. Next, begin heating your tomato sauce if it's not already warm. Just heat up a small saucepan full of the sauce like this here, and stir every so often so that it doesn't stick. Then heat a couple tablespoons of butter, or your oil of choice, in a large pan to begin crisping your gnocchi. You want medium-high heat for this. Drop the gnocchi in and stir occasionally to ensure even browning. Once they're sufficiently browned, just sauce the gnocchi up and serve. I like to toss them in the sauce before plating it for a more even sauce distribution, but you can eat it straight away. Top it with some cheese and minced parsley for extra credit. Another good technique is creating an even layer of gnocchi in the pan, letting them develop a good amount of color on one side, and then shaking the pan to flip them over. The uncooked sides typically tend to stick to the pan, while the brown sides don't re-adhere as easily. The pesto is even easier to get ready. All you have to do is crisp up the gnocchi and then mix in the pesto. It's easier if the pesto is closer to room temperature so that it does not separate as easily when mixed. Now all that's left is to dig into your delicious gnocchi with 2 types of sauce. Crispy on the outside, perfectly tender on the inside. Thanks for joining me on another episode of Beyond the Burner. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe. Let me know what you want to learn to cook in the comments. And be sure to follow me over on TikTok for easy 1-minute recipes. Also follow my Instagram at Chef Aaron Walker for food pics, recipes, and more. I'll see you next week, so stay hungry.